Welcome to another episode of the Jesus Agenda. My name is Pastor Chad. This is Pastor Steve, and we are going to be tackling some stories in politics and in the realm of religion and in the realm of culture, just to talk about what's been going on. And we've been out for a couple of weeks for various reasons, so this is our first episode in a little bit of time. So a lot of things have passed, but I think there's some big stories that people are following. One of them in the world of politics is just the freaking out that the left is having, especially the left, but even some other folks, over DOGE, the Department of Governmental Equity? I can't even remember. Equity. No, efficiency. Yeah, the Department of Governmental. I had a brain fart right there.
Trump will not have the word equity in it.
No, definitely not. So what's going on there? They're just kind of finding waste. And I'm not sure I get that the Democrats are imploding, that they're trying to find something they can hold on to and be upset about. And, but it just feels like they haven't learned. Like they're still using language that already feels outdated.
Yeah, it's complete. I'm just mind blown that the whole people are so upset, like you said, about God forbid that they're finding government waste and trying to stop it. But it all comes down to cult mentality.
Right.
That's what this all comes down to. It's like it isn't about what's the best thing for our country. The Democrats don't. But to be fair, plenty of Trump followers are the same way.
Sure.
Like anything Trump does is gold. It doesn't matter what it is, and he can't do anything wrong. So if he says something, it must be true. Same thing on the left. If the news is saying, Musk is just a co-president, an unelected official, and,
right.
and
he's usurped the White House's authority.
Fauci, anybody?
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
And yeah. So.
Yeah, and obviously Musk is a guy that was hired to do a particular job. People don't like it maybe because he's the richest man in the world. Is that John Wesley right there? Is that a John Wesley bobblehead? Oh, that is so funny. Let me see. Hold on. I'm not going to break his head off. That's terrible. Oh my Lord, this is hilarious. I love it. That's so funny.
You need to get a Luther one.
I'll get a Luther one.
And then we can just go like this and have them on.
Yeah. Or we could get you know what we could do is we could. Do you remember the old boxing thing when we were kids? The little plastic thing with the two boxing guys and you had the little joystick. Oh, yeah. We could just put
Sock 'em, sock 'em.
Yeah. We could just put Wesley's face on one and Luther's face on the other.
For those who just listened, I just took out a John Wesley bobblehead and just stuck it on my desk.
That's hilarious.
Just a troll chat.
That's hilarious. So back to saving money, not saving souls. Musk is hired to do a job, and honestly, who would you rather want at the head of a group that's trying to find, where are we spending money that we shouldn't be spending money, other than probably the most successful businessman in the world, right? I mean, he's the richest guy in the world. And then, one of the things that kind of ticked me off, I read something and I can't remember the source, so I won't, try to figure out what it is. But the comment was, well, here's a guy that gets rich off of government funding. Okay, well, first of all, there's a difference between getting a handout from USAID and winning a competitive government contract.
Aid, by the way.
Right. Winning a competitive contract from the federal government to send their astronauts to space. Yeah. That's a totally different thing. Yes. And by the way, by paying Musk to do it, we're saving money.
Yes.
And it's actually getting done.
A lot better, yeah.
Right. It's being done a lot better. The whole reason why the guy created a rocket that lands was to win those government contracts. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that was a selling point for him. Say, look, I can save a ton of money because you won't have to scrap this thing every time you send it up, right?
And no one has a problem with contractors.
No, that's a totally different thing. It's not the same. I mean, doing a job to get government funding is not. I mean, that's ridiculous. Now, on the flip side of it, since we are talking USAID, not everything that they're critical of is bad necessarily. And this is the part where we can criticize Trump. I mean, I know, my own background. I worked with refugees. I worked for Catholic Charities for a number of years. at least at my level, I didn't see waste. All that money went to do, the contract. We had to fulfill certain, obligations in order to receive the money from. We didn't get it from USAID. I think it came from the Department of State. But so, I mean, yeah, of course, there's going to be people that they bring up and they go, you know what? No, they're really doing their job. We should keep the funding going or whatever. But sending, $2.5 million for condoms in Gaza.
Yeah, there was one that was literally millions of dollars for gender transitioning in Tanzania.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't have anything against Gaza or Tanzania, but we don't need to give you
at least let it be for the Hungary.
Right, yeah, or rebuild the buildings in Gaza that have been that's
sewage or something.
Yeah, I'll send. Even if you said that to me, I might even say, okay, yeah, I'm okay with that.
If we can afford it,
we can. Right, and most of the time
that topic's coming later.
And that's the other thing. At least with this, now they're starting to talk about this 20% give back thing. No, just pay the debt down. I don't want that money. Yeah. And I hope that they don't
give back would cause inflation to
Oh, absolutely. Well, although what's his name came out yesterday or 2 days ago with the press secretary to say why it would actually decrease because in his opinion, so many people would save the money. Well, no, they wouldn't.
No,
they would spend the money.
It would cause inflation.
And it would cause more inflation. So I'm hoping that cooler heads prevail or more conservative heads prevail. And, but I think the ability to circle back around to what we were originally talking about, I think there has to be an ability to be critical even of the person or the administration that you support. We're not always going to agree on things. Another big one for me was the IVF thing. That I think that was horrible. And believe me, I get it. I understand. I've had couples that have struggled getting pregnant and have used IVF. I get it. Yeah. I'm not saying that I don't want people to be able to get pregnant. Yeah. But I know what happens to thousands upon thousands of embryos that don't get used. Yeah. They get destroyed. And if we're saying that this is a human being from conception, then you're aborting thousands of human beings, and I don't want to pay for that.
No.
So I disagree with that too. But we have to be able to be critical of our own and what's happening with the left.
Piece by piece, take it item by item.
Yeah. Say and for the most part, I just said to somebody the other day, I agree with like 95% of everything that he's done in the first month. I've been very happy. In fact, I've actually made
95%.
Yeah, I've made comments to my wife where I'm like, geez, he feels and looks more presidential this time.
He does. He's not tweeting.
He's not tweeting. Stuff. Hopefully somebody took his phone away from this time. But no, I mean, his composure seems different than to me.
And the tweets were entertaining.
They were fun.
CJ just sighed
they were
with
fun.
Like this discouragement that
he wants more. Tweet away, Trump. Tweet away, Trump. But I mean, the reality is that I think he came into this term not quite different, but maybe with different perception. Having been shot at twice, hit once,
perception.
But also the fact that he won the popular vote. I think that's very encouraging to a person, right? That the first time around you didn't, but this time around you did, and so it's almost like there's a different feel for him to it, I also think he has a way better vice president, a way better emissary to carry the message out.
Appointments are all
amazing. I didn't really like Mike Pence, and I understood why he took Mike Pence because he was trying to court the evangelical vote, but I wasn't a fan of Mike Pence. I'm a huge fan of J.D. Vance, and one of the reasons I love his backstory. I haven't seen the
Hillbillyology, have you?
I haven't watched the movie, but I've read some of the book.
I haven't either.
Yeah, and I mean, most of what I've read have been off of articles. Like I haven't physically sat down with the book itself. So I probably won't read the book, but I will watch the movie because it's on Netflix. Just haven't gotten around to it. But I've heard some just really great anecdotes from that people have shared with me, periodically who've been touched by the story. So I definitely think Vance is just a better all-around pick. So I like the way things feel. I agree with 95% of everything that's going on. But the things that I disagree with, I'm vocal about, not in any negative. And you and I,
you aren't always Trumpers.
Right.
Like take piece by piece.
Like I actually called my congressman's office a few days ago after the whole we're going to take over Gaza and make it big and beautiful and relocate all these Palestinians. And I don't know him personally, but because of some of my involvement in politics, we've come across each other, we've met each other, we've, had some communication, right? So And I basically said, look, I'm a conservative, 110% a conservative. This is a terrible idea. It's a terrible plan. Don't do it.
Up for development, but yeah, it's not.
The way it's coming. Here's what I think. This is what I think, and this is why I didn't go like crazy about it, right? If you've read The Art of the Deal, which I have, that's one of the few books. It's the only book about Trump I've ever read. He always asks for the most unattainable thing first,
move the Overton window,
because he's trying to move it.
Yeah.
And it, at least, and I haven't heard a ton about it yet, but it has brought Egypt and Jordan together, and I think Saudi Arabia might be involved with those talks. And if you think about it for a second, these are three countries that, look, I don't blame them. They don't want to bring a bunch of people into their country. We get it. We're fighting the same thing, saying we don't want people pouring over our border either. Yeah. But so how about kick some money in to help make this a better place and help get rid of Hamas? Mm-hmm. Jordan is a great country, to be honest with you. If you know anything about Jordan, the King Abdullah there is a good ruler. Which is why Jordan didn't get caught up in the Arab Spring. The people are generally happy there.
Technically, he's what they call a benevolent dictator.
He's a benevolent dictator, and one of the key markers of that for me in the Arab world is how does the Christian community fare?
They're doing great.
The Christian community in Jordan is flourishing. Yeah. It's flourishing, and that's a good marker or a good indicator for me of how an Arab ruler is. Now, Egypt, not as much. I mean, Egypt has a military ruler. He's a general, and the Coptic Christians kind of have peaks and valleys that they go through. But generally, it's safe to be a Christian there. I mean, there's things that happen, but so already it's bringing these guys together to say, what can we do to fund this? What can we do to help? And we don't want to take them all in our country, but let's figure out a way to get rid of Hamas. Let's figure out a way to,
which is the hard part,
which is
them out of the
and look, I want to say something just in defense. Now, I've been over there when I wasn't in Gaza. I was in the West Bank, and I spent almost all my time in the West Bank, and most of that was with the Christian community. But we got to know just everyday Palestinians, most of whom are Muslim. And the first thing I want to say is, no matter what country you're in, I don't care where you are in the world, the people there are pretty much just like you. Yeah. They want to raise their family. They want to have safety. They want to be able to go to school. They want an education. 99.9% of people are like that. It's that other percentage that has some kind of agenda that causes everybody to look bad, right? Yeah. And
same thing with just Muslims in general.
Right, yeah. Same thing with Muslims in general. 90% of
ones are making the rest of them look bad.
Absolutely. There's probably more we could say about that in terms of is it are peaceful Muslims peaceful because of Islam or in spite of Islam? And I would argue the latter, not the former. Yeah. But that doesn't change the fact that most of them are peaceful, right? Mm-hmm. So when you go over there, I'm over there, and we had a trip to Gaza planned. And at that time, this was 2007, Hamas was persecuting the small Christian community, and they had set a bookstore on fire, a Christian bookstore on fire. And so we canceled.
Burned well.
Right. So we canceled our trip, and then so I came home like in the summer, and that October, the guy who owned the bookstore was killed by Hamas. Oh, wow. So I don't think anybody's a fan of Hamas. And then we say, well, they voted for Hamas. Well, let me ask you a question. If you're living in the largest open air prison in the world, that you can't go anywhere, and this group comes and says,
fair election, probably not.
Well, first, it probably wasn't, but even if it was, if you're stuck in this situation where your whole life is about poverty, you believe that it's caused by Israel, and for the most part it is. You're trapped in this four-walled area. You can't go anywhere. Egypt won't let you in. Israel won't let you in. And this group comes along and says, we're going to fight for your freedom. You're probably going to vote for those guys. You probably regretted it right after they took office. But so I think the key is, let the Arabs deal with this with our guidance, and I think probably that's what Trump's trying to do. Is he's trying to say, I'm going to say the most ridiculous thing out there that nobody's going to want me to do except for the Israelis, because they would love that land. Other than them, nobody's going to agree with this. So it'll bring these other people together, all of whom we're allies with, by the way, and they'll come up with something creative that will fix it, Get rid of Hamas and make it so these people can finally live at peace. That's what I'm hoping is the end goal. I don't really think we're going to take control of Gaza, and that would be.
I don't think he actually meant that.
No,
I think he was. Like you said, the art of the deal.
I think it's part of the art of the deal, and that's what I'm kind of counting on.
It was a shock moment.
For like a week, they doubled down on it.
He loves saying things. Well, that's part of the thing with Trump. Getting back to it, not getting back to it, but
no, we need to get
about before was. He has the left looking every direction.
Oh, yeah.
They can't figure out.
They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do.
So, like, that was one thing, and then he'll say something else kind of extreme, and we're going to take over Greenland. We're going to make Canada the 51st state.
Right.
He says these things.
I love that.
Yeah, he says these things that they're like, what? Yeah. Oh? And then while they're flipping out about that, then he's doing something else.
Right.
Trump is really.
How about the really cool thing that was on the news today? That woman that he pardoned, who had been in jail for like 22 years for a crime she didn't commit.
I didn't know.
In his first term, he pardoned her. I can't think of what her name is, but now that he's back in office, he's making her the pardon czar, which sounds corny, but no, listen, the woman has been for the last couple of years. She has been going through cases all over the country and finding the very best ones, because her intention was, if he ever gets back in office, I'm going to present these people for pardon. And so he's empowered her to really, with her group that she's been working with, to go through these cases and find people that are. It is a lot of work. And she was interviewed. I don't know. It was probably Fox News. She was interviewed, and she knew her stuff. Like, she knew what she was talking about. And she said that she ran into him at a campaign rally in 2022. And he told her, if I win, I'm taking you with me. And she says, and here I am 2 years later, 3 years later, whatever it is, and I'm back in.
And we all know there's innocent people in jail.
So yeah, absolutely.
It takes a lot of work to find them.
So I think it's important, when we're going down with this DOGE stuff, just let them do their job. Let them come up with this money. And the list that the press secretary is Christina. I always forget her name. Is it Christina? Is that her name? I'm not sure. What's the press secretary's name? While he's looking that up, so she came out and she had a list. This.
She's great, by the way.
Oh, I love her. I love watching her press secretary. Her press briefings are phenomenal. Caroline Levitt. So she came out. She had a list. Should we really be spending this? Is $57,000 on a
receipts, by the way, on DOGE website.
Right? Yeah, you can go to the website and see it.
Website if you want, because for a while they were like, "Well, show us the receipts, prove it."
And now you're showing the receipts.
It's coming. Yeah. You can't just throw a website together with millions, with tons of terabytes of information and overnight.
Yeah, and here's a plug for Twitter, X, whatever you call it. I was on X. I got off of it. Now I'm back on it because you're going to get most of the news from there.
Yeah,
I'm literally, I watch the morning news a little bit just for entertainment value. Yeah, do it. Go for it. I don't really post. I just look for the news. Like, I'm following DOGE. I'm following Hegseth and some of these other guys.
Caroline Levitt's a good follow.
I don't know if I'm following her or not, but I'll follow her too for the press briefings. But that's another thing they were flipping out, is the stuff he's saying about Ukraine and Russia and all this kind of. And again, I think
he's doing the same thing.
I think it's the same thing. Yeah. I think it's And that, I mean, look, it's a really complicated situation over there. It's kind of been tit for tat for a long time. It's not just like this one thing. So there's more going on that we might not know about. So I think I am enjoying watching Democrats like flip their lids over every little thing that happens. But I think what's really killing me is they're not getting that they're digging themselves deeper into the hole, and they're
learned a thing.
They're not going to come out of it if they keep, which I'm fine with, because I'd rather that.
A few of them have realized this, though. I can't remember who the politician. Oh, you know who it was? Who was the guy who he was I think it was transportation.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Peter Buttigieg.
Yeah, Buttigieg. He says maybe we went too far with DEI.
Like, we took this DEI. He's like. Yeah,
and he's gay.
Yeah. He had really good. Of course, he got his job because of DEI.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
He'd be some
because he was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
He was a mayor.
The only thing South Bend has is Notre Dame. That's it.
He had being gay is why he got the position, but he was calling it out like. We made a mistake. We went too far with this.
Yeah,
most of them aren't.
And there are a few here and there that are picking up on it.
Enough to change it? I don't think so yet.
I don't know. Maybe they need to lose. Maybe they need to lose the midterms to really see that we're done, and we need to kind of reevaluate where we're at. Because I don't really even think the majority of Democrats.
What's our next topic, DEI.
Yeah, right. I don't even really think that the majority of Democrats are that far to the left.
No, it's just well, on DEI again, it's just the cult thing. That's what you're supposed to do. So, but when it comes down to the reality, they still elected a old white straight president and old white man straight president. When it comes down to it, they want their agenda to go forward. It's not really about equality or equity. It's not about either one of them. It's about agenda.
Here's a freaky thing that maybe is not that freaky. So there's a new show on Netflix with Robert De Niro, where he plays an former president, who gets hired by the new president to lead a commission because there's this attack on America. And it's like a malware attack. It messes up everything, trains, planes, everything. There's 3,400 people die. So post-production, post-production ended in like 2022. So here's the thing. This is a president who stepped down because of dementia. And they replaced him with a black woman.
So is this show really woke?
No, it's actually, we've watched...
So I can't stand watching.
No. We've watched 3 episodes, and he's presented his presidency is actually presented as one that in fact, one of the first quotes from a biographer is, you're the last president in modern memory that was able to really get bipartisanship together. So they don't really give away if he's like a Republican or a Democrat or whatever, but because it's kind of a Law and Order show, it gives off conservative vibes. So I mean, De Niro is a left wing whack job, but so it is a good show. And for some reason, I can't think of the name. We've watched, I think, 3 episodes. So far it's been good.
They were setting up Kamala Harris, basically.
I'm saying this is what I'm saying. I'm saying the post-production ended in 2022. And the storyline is this is a president who's struggling with dementia. Now, the big difference is that nobody knows it. Like, even his wife doesn't know. But throughout the series, it's showing him taking this prescription. And him and the wife are together, but it's like...
Pudding.
No. It's more like he has these moments where it kicks in. Like, he's hearing things or he's seeing things, stuff like that. And so I don't know. I haven't gotten far enough to know what the reveal. I don't know.
Oh man, no, you're leaving all of our listeners.
No, I can look it up. It's in my in my list. But so it kind of reminds me of the South Park or the Simpson predictions. There's a lot of predictions the Simpsons made, which is kind of hilarious. You kind of wonder like what crystal ball were the Simpsons creators looking in when they were writing some of the cartoons that they were writing. It is called, if DJ doesn't get it before me.
I don't think DJ is looking for it.
You are? Zero Day. It's called Zero Day. Yeah. So they call it Zero Day because the day that the event happens is Zero Day.
Yeah.
Right, Wesley? Yeah, he agrees. So I guess we skip over religion and just go right to the DEI stuff, which is actually kind of our culture conversation. But I just want to point out that when DEI was just affirmative action, most of us kind of kept quiet about it. I mean, once in a while you'd say, well, that's not fair. But the reality is,
for a long time.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of people too worried about affirmative action. Once in a while, I think on the campaign trail, you'd hear some brave conservative say we shouldn't do that. But for the most part, nobody cared. And it wasn't until you started kind of pushing this agenda, the gender ideology and all this other kind of stuff.
By the way, for any of you who don't know, DEI is the diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Right, yeah. And
sorry, I interrupted you.
And who was it the Surgeon General that was a dude wearing a dress under Biden?
The bald dude?
No, he had long gray hair.
Oh. Oh no!
Was he the Surgeon General? No, the Surgeon General was the black guy.
Something with military.
Yeah, he did. But I don't think.
Defense?
No, I don't think it was. Oh God, I hope he wasn't Secretary of Defense.
He had like several whack.
Maybe, you know what? Department of Health. I think he was RFK's job. But that, I mean, that kind of stuff. It's like, really?
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
And I think that's what put people over the edge with this stuff.
Department of Health, the one pumping his body full of foreign hormones.
I don't even know that he was doing that because he never stopped looking like a man. Yeah. I did not know. So I'm going through Facebook and I got to see if I can remember the person's name. It's an actress named Hunter something. That's actually a guy who transitioned in his 20s.
So he's still a dude, okay.
And I'm looking at going through the thing, and I didn't know what it was because somebody asked him something about how are you feeling like.
Look like
No, actually, this dude did look like a lady. I would have never guessed it, honestly. And what it was is the interviewer was asking, who I thought was a her, what happened. I don't know. I don't even remember what page it was, but the interviewer asked Hunter, how are you feeling? And it was like some award ceremony. Was there an award ceremony lately for actors and stuff?
Yeah, there was.
Was the Emmys just recently or the Oscars? So anyway, he's there, for whatever this award show is, and this interviewer comes up and asks him.
Useless those things are now. Nobody even knows they happen.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Some award show
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And the interviewer comes up and says, how are you doing after everything? And I know you got a lot of love online. And Hunter responds, very feminine voice, and I'm like, oh, geez, I wonder what happened to her. That's terrible. And now my interest is piqued. So I click on the story and I go, oh, okay, that's not a her at all. I didn't know. If you saw a picture.
That was an effective transition.
Honestly, a very effective transition, at least from the waist up. Yeah. I don't know about anything else, but he looked very feminine to me, even in the face. So what happened, by the way, was he got his new passport. And the passport indicates that he's a male because the federal government only recognizes two sexes. And so I thought that was really interesting that
that's gonna really hurt his feelings.
Really hurts his feelings. And actually, I don't know I don't follow a lot of people on Instagram. I don't follow famous people on Instagram. I follow some politicians, but I'm guessing that he did a TikTok or an Instagram thing or something where he was, emotional about it. But at least in the interview, he didn't go over the top. He's just going, it is what it is. I'm fine now, kind of thing. But
good for him on that.
Yeah. I mean, if he's actually accepting of it now that he's gone through his breakdown. And look, I don't know what goes on in the minds of people. And frankly, look, and I've said this to people before. I mean, I do believe that there are certain human institutions that need to be protected. Marriage is one.
Yeah.
So I can say this. I can say if Joe and Bob want to live together and have a contract that allows them to go in and visit each other in the hospital so they can inherit from each other, own property together, whatever, those kind of things are. If they want to do that, that doesn't bother me.
It's just a legal agreement.
Yeah, it's illegal. Well, even what I'm saying is it doesn't bother me that you're living that life.
Marriage, because that isn't marriage.
It's not marriage.
Yeah.
And I have to defend marriage against attacks on marriage, right? Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, includes the divorce rate and in adultery and all these other kind of things. Yeah. But the reality is that there's no there's no activist group protesting for adultery or protesting for divorce. This is what they're out asking for. But ultimately, I don't care. The decision that you make with your life is your decision. Mm-hmm. Now, I have a right.
Shove it down my throat.
Right. And let's not put it on equal footing. Yeah. Let's not say that it's the same thing.
Make us all play along.
It's not the same thing. Game. I'm not going to. Now, I might invite you to the barbecue because you're my neighbor and that's how I am. And I might be friends with you. But I have a right. I also have a right. If I'm saying you have a right to live that life, then you have to allow me the right to tell you to bring the law of God to bear on your life and say, hey, man, I love you, but the lifestyle that you're engaged in is not what God wants for you. It's disordered.
That's the thing to do, by the way.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm not saying you walk around looking for somebody who's transgender and you're gonna go to hell, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like if you but
Yeah, I'm not holding signs out on the street or anything.
With somebody, it's the loving thing to do to share with them God's perfect plan for their life, which is what He created them to be.
Right, absolutely.
They're not whatever they want to, you know, just because you put, I was just playing with DJ's son, and just because you put a Loki costume on, which he did.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you
Loki.
It doesn't give you all Loki.
Don't go jumping off the roof or anything.
But even his son knows it's
make believe. Sure.
He doesn't actually believe he's Loki.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think people, you know, but that's what the issue, the pushback against the DEI thing is that what you're saying is that we all have to go along with your individual choice.
Right.
I think there is a line.
Rearrange our lives and rearrange our worldview, even to just so you can feel good about your what you want to believe.
Right.
And it's going against reality.
And you know, and I got to be honest with you, man. I'm willing to bend even in certain ways. Like if I had a friend who transitioned, somebody that I've known my whole life, and says, "Hey, you know, can you call me Cheryl instead of Charles?" Like, all right, if it makes you feel better, I'll call you Cheryl. But I don't want you going in the bathroom with my daughter.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? No. Like, I might even be willing to but as soon as you start telling me that I have to, you're going to get a different reaction.
I'm always torn on the names and the pronouns. Like, people are like, well, you know, I also don't want to lie to them or reinforce.
I know, it's very complex.
I think a name is a little different than pronouns, because a name is like a name, but some people are like, well, call him
her,
she, he, her, or her, whatever it is.
I think I would have a hard time with that too.
Because then you were playing along with it, right?
But it's like I had a friend who converted to Islam when I was a kid, and he changed his name. I can't remember. It was like Ahmed or something like that. And he says, "Can you call me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll call you. Yeah, you want me to call you Ahmed? I'll call you Ahmed. I don't care." You know, all the time. That's just. I would probably draw the line with the pronouns kind of thing, and like I said, I wouldn't want him to go in the bathroom with my daughter.
No, absolutely not.
Not because I think he's going to do something wrong, but because
you don't know.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but
I don't want dudes.
Especially since you'd be like, we've known me your whole life. Yeah, but my whole life, you had a thing. Now you don't want to have that thing anymore.
It doesn't matter if you know your whole life. If you're if you're at a movie theater and a guy, an obvious man tries to walk in the female bathroom with your wife and your daughter in there.
Oh, you're getting up.
Like, dude, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
I don't even care if I knew him. If it was you, Chad, and I know who
right.
If you're trying to walk in the bathroom with my wife, I'm like, why would you want to go into the girls' bathroom with my wife?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
That's sketchy, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Not
that I would think you're going to do it.
No, right, but still, no.
So it's the same thing. If it's somebody who's a male, I don't care what you identify as.
Right, even if you look like a chick, like this person really did. You should look that person up, DJ, so you can flash a picture of him, Hunter Schultz or something like that. An actor. He was on a show called Euphoria, which I don't know what that is either, but.
Wow, you actually knew the title.
I remember the title of the show. The only reason why is because the last series of Spider-Man movies that I watched with my son had Zendaya on it, and I remember what her face looks like, and she's in this show with this person. So the name of the show stuck out in my head, and the first name of the Hunter Schafer. Yeah. So DJ's going to pop a picture of him up there, just to show that he did have very good plastic surgeons. I don't know what he looked like as a guy. I would imagine he had to be pretty skinny at some point. But I think the issue with DEI, as we're kind of saying, is you're trying to change reality. It's not about your individual choice. If it was just about your individual choice, then have at it and do what you want to do, because you're not affecting us. You're not affecting me. And I think we've forgotten in this country that that's really what our freedom is about here. It's about individual freedom that does not encroach on the individual freedom of another person.
Yes.
So, for example, if you and I have a house right next to each other and our property line joins up, the law says that if I want to build a fence between your house and my house, I have to build it 2 feet into my property, because I can't encroach on yours. Yeah. So I can't just put it on the property line. It has to be set off. Right. So that's what we're talking about here. You do have the individual freedom to, if you want to have a sex change operation, if you want to wear dresses, and look, this goes both ways. By the way, I want to make sure that
existed since this, like,
right, transvestites and all that. And I want to just reverse this. This is not about men. In our case, men. Not or maybe being prejudiced against men who want to be women. I feel the same way about women who want to be men, right? I'm just using the more common thing is men. It's just like with the LGBT stuff.
And they're the ones trying to play.
You very seldom do you see like a parade of lesbians walking down the street. Yeah. It's usually a parade of guys, right? Which shouldn't that be a red flag for the women's rights movement that all of these movements are men? Doing this,
and the drag shows. I know drag by definition is men.
But
you
still,
don't ever see women dressed up as men,
right?
Doing
shows or anything. Yeah. So I think the issue. So that's not what the issue is. But the issue is once your individual freedom crosses over into my ability to exercise my individual freedom, now we have a problem.
Yeah.
Now we have a problem, and the reality is that the government does not have a responsibility to recognize. Anything outside of your biological sex. I also like the fact that we're using the word sex instead of gender because gender has been given a total. I mean, it's a newer word.
The Bible doesn't differentiate, by the way.
Right. Yeah. Well, the Bible wouldn't even use the word gender.
I know, exactly. So there's, I'm saying,
it would just be male and female.
This
there wouldn't be.
This additional category of gender is a new.
It's a new construct from like the 60s or the 70s or something.
Societal construct.
Yeah, which is ironic because isn't it societal constructs that they say they're against? They created a whole new category of societal construct. So I think that's interesting. What I find that's more interesting than the government killing DEI is the private corporations that are ending it, like Google and
some of them are doubling down, like Costco.
Very few of them, though.
Costco's doubling down. Target
is Target really? I thought I saw something that Target was backing off.
I just heard they just doubled down on something.
Really?
Yeah.
Costco doesn't care though. Costco is kind of like a unionized version of Walmart, basically a unionized version of Sam's Club. So they kind of have to go along with whatever. But he's actually a decent guy. The guy that owns Costco, the guy that's at the head of it, he was paying. Like when the union when his workers wanted to form a union. He didn't fight him on it. He just sat down and said, let's come up with something that works for both of us, which in an ideal world is how it would work for both sides, So he, but you've got Disney is even backing off of things. Google's backing off of things. A bunch of Microsoft, a bunch of other companies.
They're getting a lot of flack.
Well, they need to because not for nothing, but this increase. I'm sorry, ladies, but the increase of crashes seems to be following the trajectory of the increase of female pilots. I mean, don't send me hate mail, but
I want the best pilot.
Yeah, and I don't care if it's a man or a woman.
What your color is, but when you're passing up the best pilot, so you can hire more women or men.
That's where it becomes a problem.
Blacks, then that's where there's a problem, and that's what DEI does.
Yeah,
it
passes over qualified individuals for people who make you check a box.
MLK didn't argue for that. He said, I dream of a day when my children will be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. So whenever you're picking people based on their color, that's judging them by the color of their skin.
Right.
Exactly what we undid.
Yeah.
MLK.
Yeah.
So all you're doing is reversing it, favoring favoring intersectionality over the best.
Yeah.
Over merit based.
Yeah, so let's hope we get we'll have 46 months of Trump and then hopefully 96 months of a Vance administration.
That'd be awesome.
And DEI will not, unlike Jesus, DEI will not rise from the dead. What do you think, Wesley? You think that's going to... Yeah, Wesley says it's going to work out just fine.
Wesley says...
So since we're talking about a religious figure, we're going to move to the religion sector. We got a couple of big stories. One of them is another place where we disagree with Trump. His selection of Paula White, of all people... Yeah, she is a nutcase too. I don't know if you've watched any of her church services.
She claims she went to heaven and met God face to face.
Yeah,
and she's like a prophet appointed.
Oh yeah. I mean, even for charismatics, she's not. Nuts. I usually will differentiate.
She's morally solid though, which is something.
Yeah,
she's not like one of these United Methodists.
Yeah, no. She is socially conservative. That's what I would say.
She's not very
but she's going to be heading up the office of faith or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, didn't
Why she use like Franklin Graham or something?
I wouldn't want Franklin Graham either, but somebody like him,
than her.
somebody like him would have been okay.
He would have been a much more.
I mean, I could think of if I was, if I had to pick somebody, I would pick somebody who's somewhat known, but known specifically because he's a preacher and a spiritual guide.
Yeah.
I honestly, the guy I would pick is Alistair Begg, who's a Reformed Baptist in Ohio.
Oh, he is, yeah.
Yeah, he's really good, and plus he get the Scottish accent, but maybe he's not a citizen, so that could be an issue. But I think he's very measured in who he. Like, I've watched him for a number of years. My dad really liked him a lot.
I could list 20, 30 preachers right now that he should have picked instead of
people that are well known, though.
Even well-known ones.
Well, I mean, he could have picked. 30, honestly, he could have picked a Muslim imam over Paula White. It would have been fine. It's like, this is not a very good representation of Christianity. So then, of course, between the two of us, we started sharing possible conspiracy theories, like maybe they had a relationship before and he needs to keep it quiet. You never know. Or maybe she's got some dirt on him and she's like, look, this is what I want. Now, going back to...
Is she paid for this?
I don't know. That's the thing. Will she get paid?
I don't know.
I hope she doesn't get paid.
It used to be Billy Graham was for years. And
he was just like the free dude.
I don't think it was.
Yeah. And he just showed up. They just called him when they had a problem. Yeah. He was like the spiritual EMS service for the White House. And he
Protestant Pope.
And right. And obviously he was pretty good, and he definitely counseled both sides of the aisle. He had no issues with that.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, didn't George W. Bush have an office of faith-based initiatives? I'm pretty sure, because that's where you got some. That's where abstinence funding came from for school-based programs. There were some other partnerships between. Actually, that's where all of this stuff of. Like religious organizations running these refugee programs and these social service programs, they all came from the Bush administration. I don't know if it was a law or an executive order. I think it was an executive order that created government partnership with religious institutions to run these government programs that were overwhelmed. I'm pretty sure he called it the Office of Faith-Based Initiatives.
Yeah, he did. And then Barack Obama renamed it. And then
the Office of
Trump, it doesn't exist anymore.
The Office of LGBT Initiatives. Is that what Barack named it?
The name is, but it was. You're right. It was Bush.
Yeah. So I mean, having it is not a bad idea as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I don't know why they're just calling it the Office of Faith now, or whatever they're calling it. But
it was called the faith-based and community organizations.
Oh, so he just threw in community organizations.
Yeah, but he was trying to make it about community.
Yeah.
What he was.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean I get it. That's okay. At least it's not like the first thing he did was take God out of the preamble of the 2008 Democratic platform. I don't know if you knew that. No. That platform took
Obama did?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as he had a hand in writing in getting it written. I mean, obviously he doesn't write it himself, but every time they have one of these conventions, they come up with a platform, and that was the first platform that they took God out of the preamble of the platform. And they also changed the abortion language, which under Clinton had been safe, legal, and rare.
Yeah.
And stayed that way until Obama, and Obama basically took all that language out. The Obama group, at least, took all that language out, so that it was essentially abortion on demand. So let's hope that DEI doesn't arise. Let's hope that Paula White does something not too crazy in the Office of Faith or whatever. Yeah. Oh God, that would have been worse. That would have been worse. Oh man. No, I don't.
Saw hate of life.
And I think maybe it's important for us to say that I like to differentiate between Pentecostals and charismatics. I think charismatics are kind of the crazy cousins of Pentecostals, right? It's like the new. Right. They thought they were doing like a new word for the same thing, but they're really not, because if I remember correctly, Pentecostalism is basically just about speaking in tongues, and yes, people can get healed and stuff like that. But it's not what you see with like these Word of Faith people or whatever Paula White is and whatever that church Bethel is.
But they get a big following, man.
They do. Well, you know why? It's because of the music. Yeah. It's the music that does it.
Following.
Like, think of all the music. If you go on, like, I have to sort through my previous music director at my church liked, to use contemporary stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you've got to tell me what you want to use because I have to go through it to make sure it's biblically sound and, all this kind of stuff. And a lot, like I'm going through like every, like 6 out of 10 songs was written by somebody from Bethel or somebody from Hillsong or some. There's like 5 centers of this charismania crap that are writing all the contemporary worship. Yeah, it's very emotional. It's very mystical, all that kind of stuff. But so let's just hope, she doesn't, do anything crazy like that. We have another religion story that most of us have probably been following that's been kind of updating the last couple of days, and that's that Pope Francis is in the hospital. Yeah. Now, if I remember correctly, though, we pray for his health. We absolutely pray for his health. We pray for his salvation as well. I mean, I don't know. We don't know where his heart is, but we pray that the Lord would be merciful to him. And if he is on his deathbed, that the Lord would save him, if he hasn't already, obviously. And, I mean, we included it in our prayers of the church yesterday. It was part of our praying for sick people. Yeah. I think, actually, he was in the hospital like a week ago for one thing. Then he went back home. And then he went back in on Friday, and the first update they gave made it sound like he was going to be fine. And then he had some kind of asthmatic thing Saturday morning, and all of a sudden he's been in critical condition. He's been declining
for a while, yeah.
He has been. I mean, he's 88. Mm-hmm. He's been the Pope for like a decade at least.
It's amazing. It doesn't seem like that long to me.
It doesn't either. My wife and I were talking about that yesterday. Has he really been Pope that long? He's been Pope 10 or 11 years. So the question is, and I don't know an awful lot about the Curia. Well, but it's kind of interesting that you have this like death of liberalism that's occurring in America, not in America. So in Germany's elections just yesterday, they elected the center-right coalition party. So that means the center-left Socialist Party, which has been in power for a long time, is out of power. Oh, wow. So they're going to have a conservative prime minister. But here's more importantly, what they're calling the hard right party, the AfD, which is Alternative for Deutschland or Alternative for Germany, and Alice Wendell is her name. That's at the head of that party, or she's the co-chair. They're kind of like the Trumpian party of Germany. They came in second place, and that has never happened. They've only been in existence since like 2008, 2007, and their big thing is anti-immigration. They're mainly against the waves of Islamic immigration that's occurred in Germany. And they've been telling stories about women can't go outside at night. Yeah, these Pakistani guys or wherever they're coming from are like chasing them down and that kind of thing. So there's kind of like this death of liberalism. So the question becomes, not that I'm saying the Pope is part of that, but it just seems coincidental, right? You have this kind of leftist Pope and he's on his deathbed. What comes out of that? Does the Vatican, does the Curia read the tea leaves and say we need a traditionalist again? Because they wouldn't necessarily say their language would be more traditionalist versus modernist. They don't talk conservative and liberal, right? And I kind of like that, actually, traditionalist and modernist. So are they going to swing back? Because Benedict was like uber traditional. Like he's like, give me the red shoes, put the royal robe on me, put the crown on my head. I'm the Pope. Yeah. Damn it, you're going to do what I tell you to do. And then hippie Frank rolls around. He's like, just give me a pair of sandals. I'll be fine, Yeah. So it's like... It's like, are they going to go back to the other way? Will the Curia, and who in the Curia is traditional enough that could fill that role? And why do they have to keep, honestly, why is it only old men that get this job?
Archbishop Vigano.
Oh, is he a cardinal?
He's a cardinal.
Yeah, they don't have to be cardinals. I mean, they can actually make
priest can be.
They can make a deacon the Pope. Yeah. That's happened in history where
it's always cardinals they elect. But.
Yeah, I mean, cardinals, what they do, that's this kind of form. I probably since the Middle Ages, but they've had deacons who were Pope, which is kind of interesting because the deacon automatically becomes a priest if he becomes Pope. I would think because the Pope's got to celebrate Mass and the deacons can't do that. So it'll be interesting to watch, but it just feels like there's a shift all the way around and. That's a good thing. So let's keep.
Maybe next time we have our next episode, we'll have an update on the Pope.
Yeah, maybe we will.
Maybe it'll be a conclave going on.
Listen, we really enjoy doing these episodes. We've had some episodes that have gotten a lot of views, some that haven't gotten very many views at all. So help us out. Send this on to your friends. Social media is suppressing it. Even after Mark Zuckerberg went to kiss up to Trump, he has not given us any love. So you're going to have to text it to your friends or email it to your friends, because just posting it on Facebook is not going to work. If you would like to sponsor an episode, you can go to our website, and there's information there on how you can sponsor an episode. You can also become a member or a supporter of the podcast for as little as $3 a month. All that information is on our podcast website that DJ will put up. You can email us to let us know if you want to sponsor the episode. One episode is, what do we say, $20 or $25? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
But if you sponsor an episode, $1 million. We'll plug your business, your ministry. Maybe you just want to send us a baby picture, and we'll plug that baby picture. Whatever you want,
yes.
We'll do it. Listen, we're not
superimpose it over Chad.
Yeah, absolutely. We are not above doing really silly, stupid things. So, but thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.